They laughed when her first round missed the center, and the sound of that laughter stayed in the air longer than the echo of the shot. No one noticed the range officer stiffen, or the way his voice dropped when he whispered, "Check the back wall. Asterisk, what city are you watching from today?" If this story resonated with you, hit subscribe for more real stories about extraordinary people. Her name was Mara Hale, and she stood alone at lane 7 with a borrowed rifle and a borrowed target. She wore the same plain fatigues as everyone else, sleeves rolled, boots scuffed, hair tied back without ceremony. Nothing about her asked for attention. Nothing about her warned anyone to look closer. She had arrived early, signed the clipboard, nodded to the instructor, and taken her place without a word. In a room full of confidence and noise, she was quiet in a way that invited assumptions. The range was a long concrete hall, heavy with rules and routine. It was a place where reputations were built with numbers and erased with mistakes. Most of the shooters that day were veterans of the base, men and women who had competed for years and wore their confidence like medals. They glanced at Mara and saw a junior transfer, a paperwork soldier, someone sent to fill a slot. When her first round landed wide, a few smiles spread. When her second struck low, the smiles turned into jokes spoken just loud enough to share. Mara did not flinch. She adjusted her stance, checked the wind flag out of habit, and breathed once through her nose. She did not rush the trigger. She did not apologize. She did not look at the others. She looked through the optic as if the world had narrowed to a single point, a place she knew well. The instructor called the line hot, and the shooters settled back into their rhythms. Steel rang and paper tore. Scores climbed. Names were called. The room warmed with competition. Mara waited until the others finished their strings, then stepped forward again. Someone behind her whispered that this was going to be another miss. Someone else said she should try a different lane. A laugh bounced off the concrete. Mara fired. The round punched through the paper at the edge of the scoring ring and kept going. It kissed the steel backstop with a sound that was not loud but certain. The range officer's head snapped up. His eyes moved from the target to the wall behind it, to a faint mark where a previous test plate had been mounted. He leaned closer, tracing the line with his gaze. His mouth tightened. "Check the back wall," he whispered to the assistant beside him. The assistant blinked, confused, then did as told. He walked the length of the range and stopped short. There was a new mark where there should not be one. Clean, centered, too neat to be luck. Mara fired again. This time the paper tore at a place that forced the others to look. It was not a perfect bull, but it was not meant to be. It was a correction, a deliberate move, the kind that spoke of control rather than chance. The laughter thinned. The jokes died before finishing their sentences. The instructor raised a hand to pause the line. Mara lowered the rifle and waited. Her face showed nothing. She had learned long ago that calm was a shield and silence a tool. The range officer walked to her lane and asked for her dope. She handed him a small card folded once, edges worn. He glanced at it and then at her. The numbers were precise, written in a tight hand. Not guesses, calculations. He asked where she learned to shoot like that. She said she learned. Where mistakes mattered. He nodded, slowly. He asked her to step back and reset. He asked the others to stay. When the line went hot again, the room felt different. People leaned forward without meaning to. The air grew thin with attention. Mara settled in and fired a controlled string, 5 rounds spaced evenly, each one a conversation between breath and pressure. The target bloomed with holes that told a story. Not a cluster. A pattern. A message to anyone who knew how to read it. The range officer did not smile. He did not frown. He stared at the target and then at the back wall again. He called a ceasefire and cleared the line. There are moments when a room realizes it has been wrong. This was one of them. The instructor asked Mara to remove her cap. She did. He asked her to turn her collar out. She did. The insignia there was not new, but it was hidden, a small choice that said more about her than any boast. It marked her as something the others had not considered. A senior shooter spoke up, voice careful now, asking what unit she was with. Mara answered without pride. She named a place that carried weight. She named a job that required patience and precision. She named a responsibility that did not allow for luck. The range officer cleared his throat and addressed the room. He explained what the back wall told him. He explained how a miss on paper could be a test, how a shooter might use the target to measure a space beyond it. He explained how the marks aligned, how the math worked, how the rifle and the shooter spoke the same language. No one laughed. Mara was asked to shoot again, this time with a fresh target and the eyes of the room on her back. She nodded and took position. Her breathing slowed. Her shoulders settled. She fired. The rounds landed where she intended them to land. Not perfect. Honest. Alive. The kind of shooting that respected distance and consequence. When she finished, the room was quiet in a way that felt earned. The instructor thanked her. The range officer shook her hand. The others nodded, some with admiration, some with something like relief. Later, as the targets were pulled and the numbers recorded, someone asked why she missed at the start. Why she did not show what she could do from the first shot. Mara considered the question. She said that listening mattered. She said that people reveal themselves quickly when they think the outcome is decided. She said that she liked to know the room before she spoke to it. She packed her gear and signed out. As she reached the door, the range officer called after her. He asked if she would be willing to coach a few of the newer shooters next week. She smiled then, just once, and said yes. The lesson stayed with everyone who was there. Skill does not announce itself. It waits. It watches. It chooses its moment. Respect is not demanded. It is earned by consistency and clarity. Somewhere beyond the range, the day went on. The jokes found other targets. The confident learned caution. The quiet found their place. What did this story make you feel? Where are you watching from? Subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more real stories that heal the heart.